Okay, so here we are live once again with another G.I. Joe classified figure to open up. And this one is Major Bludd. See if the video is actually going to pick up. There we go. Don't want to hear me talking though. So we got another G.I. Joe classified figure to open, Major Bludd. There we go. And this is figure number 166. So they're making a whole lot of these things, aren't there? Here's the artwork on the back. Got Major Bludd here. Couple of weapons. Got a snake armor in the background, which is something I doubt I'll ever be able to afford. Close up of his face with this sort of bionic eyepiece in there. Close up of his helmet. So yeah, Major Bludd had been put out fairly early in the line. The first Major Bludd figure they did, which was a Cobra Island exclusive to Target, and that means he was hard to find. And I actually had one in my hand, but I didn't have the money for it at the time, so I had to put it back. And if I had known I was never going to see one again, I would have just eaten ramen noodles for a week. But a friend of mine out in California, Rudy, who I mentioned before, he found one, and he's supposed to send it to me one day whenever we can each send the big box of stuff we have for the other one. But I haven't been able to get around to getting to the post office, and neither is he. So I'm not trying to cast any blame on anyone. So anyway... stupid piece of paper with a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo that I'm not going to pay any attention to. Got a nice portrait of Major Bludd on the side here, and it's a nasty looking picture of him. He's got like just this nasty looking look on his face, which fits the character. Major Bludd is Australian, and I believe he was the first Australian character of many created for G.I. Joe. The Dreadnoks were mostly, not all, but mostly Australian characters. I know at least out of the original three, Buzzer and Torch were Australian. And Skymate was an Australian G.I. Joe later on. There's a rather gruesome accessory we'll talk about in a minute. And then you had, let's see, I think, was Monkey Wrench Australian? I think Monkey Wrench was Australian. Out of the Dreadnoks from the original line, Buzzer was British, and guy that came with the Thunder Machine. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Don't tell me. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but don't tell me. Thrasher. He was American. And Xandar and Zorana came from wherever Zartan came from, and who knows where that is. Bobby Wald says, I'm wondering why Hasbro didn't hold off on this figure to make an alternate head because of what happened in the EU so far. Well, I don't know. I don't know. So here's the classic Major Bludd gun, and this is supposed to be a gun that shoots rockets. I'll set that aside. And then this gun is pretty badass looking. It almost looks kind of, to me, almost sort of like a Desert Eagle, but it's a revolver. I don't know, man, but it's cool looking. Like the bastard son of a Desert Eagle and a Magnum. But the barrel of it is square. So what's up with that? What kind of gun is this? I have no idea what kind. Is it a taser? Is it a laser? Is it a blazer? I don't know. A mazer? A crazer? And then we've got some rockets. I'm just going to cut the tape. I am not reading, Bobby Wald asks, I am not reading the current Energon Universe comics. Would you recommend them? Because I might try to check them out if you say that they're worth reading. I might try to check them out. But I tend to be kind of snobby with my G.I. Joe comics. I'm like, oh, was it written by Larry Hama? Oh, then I don't know if I'm interested in that then. And I'm not saying that nobody else has ever written any good G.I. Joe comics but Larry Hama. But let's face it, he's the guy, And then I have read a few G.I. Joe comics that I've enjoyed that were written by other writers. Like Stephen Grant wrote a few good fill-in issues early on. Bobby Wald says the G.I. Joe storyline has been fire so far. Right now they are in the middle of the Dreadnoks Wars. Well, then I might go ahead and give those a read. So are Gem and the Holograms involved in that? I ask, just out of my own personal curiosity. So here's the backpack, and the rockets should plug into the backpack. The original figure had a rocket launching pistol and a backpack that was meant to be storing his rockets, but none of those were removable. The rockets were all molded into the pistol and or backpack. But this guy has removable rockets, just like the 25th anniversary one does. Yeah, Bobby Wald's back doing Real American Hero, or Larry Hama's back doing Real American Hero, and I've read some of those and I've enjoyed them. So with Serpentor Khan and Snake Eyes is he thinks he's a clone now, but yeah. And Blue White Mario is here and says hello, Alan. Hello, right back at you. Hope you're doing well today. So yeah, and you can see there's little plugs at the bottom of the rockets that we'll plug them into the rocket launching pistol, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. Now, getting the figure out of the package, let's look at the helmet real quick, and you can see that it's kind of vaguely looks like a Cobra helmet, but it's different. The original Major Bludd had a helmet molded onto his head that looked pretty much exactly like a Cobra helmet, but in black. So they did do a little bit of a creative license with this one. It made his helmet look like something a little more unique. And it's not just black. It's got like some silver dry brushing on it. Bobby Wald says, no gem yet, but another group is popping up that Hasbro acquired when getting Kenner. I think I know who that might be. But yeah, and then this accessory, which is deceptively gruesome. He's got some dog tags, multiple sets of dog tags that he would have collected from multiple soldiers that he killed. Yeah. So, and that should fit right over his head, right around his neck. Didn't even need to pull off his head. Fits on there nice. But unfortunately, since it does just go right over his head, that means it can come off very easily. But if we put on the helmet, I'm thinking that would help to hold it on. And I do think it would be nice if they kind of laid a little more flat over his breastplate. Maybe I can get him to fit a little more into the collar. And that might help with that. No, I don't think that's going to work. But yeah, and the head sculpt is really nice on this guy. So they got some stubble kind of painted onto him. And that nasty expression I was talking about that was on the box, it's on the figure as well. So you got some scarring at the eye, and he's got this eyepiece, not the traditional eye patch that Major Bludd usually has, but a little sort of bionic piece, little red glow in it. There's red all over his breastplate and all over his prosthetic arm. And I'm thinking the stuff on the breastplate is supposed to kind of glow, but the stuff on the arm looks like it's just painted on. So yeah. Now this arm has been a source of controversy for some of the fans for years, because a lot of people have argued whether or not Major Bludd's right arm is supposed to be a prosthetic or if it's supposed to be some kind of armor that he wears to protect his arm from the rocket launching pistol. And I think both interpretations on the original figure are valid. There are certain elements about the original Major Bludd's arm that, you know, you could look at it as being armor, but some that definitely point at it being a prosthetic. For example, Major Bludd doesn't have any articulation from the shoulder down. He doesn't have any swivel arm battle grip. He doesn't have any elbow articulation at all. He's just got like this solid fused arm. And looking over at the figure, I kind of feel like he's almost an homage to either the Lionel Atwell character from Son of Frankenstein, who had a prosthetic arm, or the Kenneth Mars character from Young Frankenstein that is a parody on the Lionel Atwell character that has a prosthetic arm. But you might remember that that character in the movie has an arm that, like, you know, it's like a wooden arm, and he kind of will move the arm around like with his other arm and kind of, you know, get it into whatever position he needs it to be in that way. But it's just kind of like a wooden hinged arm, whereas Major Bludd's arm is just kind of fused together. Now this arm definitely has articulation to it, so it moves. But if you look at it, you can tell that that's not an arm that like a human arm is underneath. That is just straight up a bionic arm. Especially when you look at his actual flesh and blood arm, and you can see it's a bit more muscular. It has a bit more heft to it, and his arm would have to be like really ridiculously skinny to be underneath this if it were armor. So I have to say that at least in this version of Major Bludd, this is unambiguously a bionic prosthetic arm. This is not the one he was born with. If he was born with an arm at all, you know, he probably lost his arm, you know, in some kind of battle or something like that, and then had it replaced with this bionic piece. But I would suppose that was what happened. But I suppose it could have been congenial. He could have just been born without an arm and, you know, replaced it with a bionic part, the arm that he never had, I suppose. So looking at his belt, we see that he's got a number of drums on his belt, which look like the like what we saw on the gun here. And this is also kind of similar to, I think, some of the guns that come with Destro. So it might be some of Destro's weaponry. In the original Major Bludd commercial, the jingle sings that Major Bludd was trained by Destro, but I've never seen any evidence to that in any of the cartoons or comic books. And in fact, Major Bludd and Destro both seem particularly to dislike each other in the comic book. So I'm pretty sure he hasn't. Bobby Wald says it could be a natural arm. You don't know. Maybe Major Bludd's mom slept with Johnny Five. I'm pretty sure it's fine. I'm pretty sure it's a prosthetic. So I don't know how many parts that this guy shares with the Cobra Island, since unfortunately, like I said, I don't really have that figure. Technically, I own one, but it's on the other side of the country. I have never actually seen it in person, but I do have one. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about his articulation, and we can gear him up some. Now, Major Bludd in the comics and the cartoons was always kind of an important, you know, character, but he wasn't like one of the most important Cobra guys. He kind of felt like, to me, the first of the second string, if that makes any sense. He was one of the earliest face characters in there, along with Destro, but Destro always seemed to have a little more importance. And on the cartoon, Major Bludd didn't really seem to have as much ambition. He was perfectly happy just to leave the Cobra troops into battle. But in the comics, he did have his own sort of designs at, you know, gaining his own power and whatever he needed to do. Him and the Baroness teamed up at one point to try to have Cobra Commander assassinated by Billy, Cobra Commander's own son, although we didn't know that in the comics at the time. So, and there's a little bit of point this out also, a little bit of white, just a little white tuft right there, little teeny tiny white tuft. It's kind of funny. So anyway, articulation. So Major Bludd can look up about that far, which is the best range of motion I've seen on an action figure for looking up in a long time. He can look down that far, tilt his head kind of because it goes from side to side, rotate the head all the way around. Of course, this being a G.I. Joe classified figure, he has an articulation point both where the base of the skull meets the neck and where the base of the neck meets the collarbone. So that's nice. He does have the butterfly joints there, so the arms can move forward about that far and backwards about that far at the shoulder. And then, of course, the arms rotate all the way around. And with this bionic arm, the shoulder plate is attached, but it's kind of on a hinge. So I think that's going to help when we raise the arms up to the side. And that is a stiff joint there. But that's about as far up as his arms can raise at the side. Good job engineering that shoulder plate so we can move that. Oh, and look at the way that hinge is sculpted at the shoulder there. There's no flesh underneath there, folks. This is a bionic arm, unambiguously. So then Major Bludd has a bicep sole, so the bicep rotates all the way around on both arms. I'm going to talk about both arms because they are different from each other. And then double jointed elbow. The articulation scheme is the same on both arms, but since they are different, I want to make sure that I demonstrate that. That's about the range of motion that you get on the left arm or the right arm. Yeah, the left arm. I'm sorry, I'm getting dyslexic. And then the wrists rotate all the way around, and the right wrist has a horizontal joint, moves back and forth like that. The left hand rotates all the way around, and it has a vertical joint, which moves up and down like that, which is unusual. I've noticed usually when they have a horizontal joint, like either hand can have a horizontal joint, but if one hand's going to have a vertical joint, it's usually the right hand. In this guy, it's the left. So that's interesting. And then he's got a hinge here at the ab crunch hinge. He can bend back all the way like that, bend forward all the way like that. By the way, let's go ahead and show off while I'm thinking about it, that green patch. He's got that green unit patch on his uniform, just like the original one had. The Weekend Gamer is here, and he says, I prefer this Bludd over the previous Cobra Island one. However, if they do a retro Bludd, I'm all in for that one. Yeah, I'd buy a retro Major Bludd. I would definitely buy one. So let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, so he rotates all the way around the waist, and he's got that kind of G.I. Joe sort of waist, like reminiscent of the original 1980s G.I. Joes in the way that it's jointed, but it's a ball joint. It's not an O-ring. So, but it does have that sort of old school feel to it, to me, as far as how it moves. He's got the kind of drop down hips there, so that's going to give him a little more range of motion there. Major Bludd can kick up about that far, so he can kick a G.I. Joe right in the face. But he's the kind of guy who would prefer to kick somebody or shoot somebody or hit somebody while their back was turned. He's a scumbag. That's how he killed General Flagg. He shot him in the back. What a piece of crap you are, Major Bludd. You are just the worst. Like even Cobra Commander would look at this guy and go, man, that guy's a sleaze, isn't he? Cool looking figure, though, definitely. So Major Bludd has a thigh cut, so the thigh rotates all the way around. He's got Double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion you get at the knees. And then he's got a boot cut. Boot rotates all the way around. Foot articulation seems kind of stiff. There we go, but I got it. Foot can point down about that far. Foot can point up about that far. And then rotates all around the ankle. So there we go for that. Anyway, now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and gear this guy up. So the backpack, as I pointed out, can store both the rockets there, and that can plug into his back. It should be able to plug into his back, but it looks like on mine, the armor isn't quite lined up with the backpack hole in the actual torso. So I'm having to push the armor up a little bit and get that. I'm going to take the, because I don't want to drop them. I'm going to take the rockets off. One of them just kind of fell off anyway. So I'm going to push this up and then see if I can get the backpack in. But man, they made that tricky. Yeah, I don't know if this would be like every Major Bludd or if just like mine wasn't quite put together right. But the backpack hole does not want to line up with the one on the armor, doesn't want to line up with the one on the actual torso. But I got it in there. I don't know if I got it in there all the way, but it's in there. So there's the backpack on there. And the backpack actually does have like a little peg hole on the side, so we can even store the rocket pistol over there when that's not in use. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to take that back off. That's the little peg on the rocket pistol, so we can see that. And then this gun, which I don't know what this gun's supposed to be, but it's cool looking. So that's got its own little holster over here. And the holster has like some silver detailing to it. And it actually fits in there very snugly. So there we go. That's how that works. So, anywho, I'm going to put this gun into his left hand. This does not seem very well designed for the theory that that Major Bludd is simply wearing armor to protect himself from the rocket gun, since they have the holster for this gun on his right side, which would seem to imply that this is actually his main gun. But if we want to have him holding both of them, and I want to have the rocket gun in his right arm, like the original figure, I'm going to have to put this gun in his left hand. Let's say that Major Bludd is ambidextrous. I think for a guy who only has one hand, one biological hand anyway. Yeah, Lone Dragon says, can't get it in all the way, try more lube. I don't want to get my action figure all greasy. I should have known you would have appeared right when I said that. All right. So, let's see. Where was I? Oh, yeah. I got the other gun, the rocket gun. The classic Major Bludd gun. The original. The vintage. The gun that Major Bludd came with in the original figure that all of us old people remember from the 1980s. So there he is with that. And like I said before, in the 80s, this was just kind of sculpted to his chest. And this was just kind of sculpted to his head. Neither one of these pieces were removable. But they like to get a lot more fancy about that stuff these days. And we'll go ahead and put one of the rockets into the rocket pistol, so we can see how that looks. And since I've got the backpack actually in his back, I can plug this one in, put the rocket back into his backpack. The other rocket. And there we go. Major Bludd ready for action. He's a mercenary, so he's on his own side. Whichever side is paying him the most money, that's the side that he's on. But G.I. Joe wouldn't want this guy on his side, on their side anyway. They're a lot more honorable than that. This guy's just a sleaze. This guy's the worst. Even the Dreadnoks probably don't like Major Bludd very much, and they're his fellow countrymen for the most part. It gives Australia a bad name. Yeah. Oh yeah, and one of my favorite GI Joe characters, Recondo, in the Australian version of GI Joe. He's an Australian character, and they call him Digga in those. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So I talked a little bit about that in the Captain Boomerang unboxing I did a while back, since his name is Digger Harkness. So, but yeah, Major Bludd turned out really cool, and I'm really happy with how this figure turned out. And it is one of those where like this is kind of what I want out of GI Joe Classified, where like not only does it manage to evoke the original figure, and definitely is a fitting homage to that original Major Bludd that we got back in, I think it was 1984 was when we got the original Major Bludd, maybe 83. I think it was 83. It was 83, wasn't it? Maybe 83, 84, late 83, early 84, sometime around then. Not only does it remind me a lot of that original G.I. Joe Major Bludd figure that I had when I was a kid, but it brings some new elements to it. He's got a new weapon that's pretty cool. Kind of definitively answered the question as to whether or not this is just armor or whether it's an actual bionic arm. This is definitely a bionic arm in this version anyway. You know, it's still up for debate with that vintage version, but this one, it's definitely bionic. But yeah, it's unmistakably, it's totally recognizably Major Bludd. So they did a good job with him. So that's another one of our villains out of the way. So next episode, we will have one of our heroes again, and Snake Eyes himself. Oh yeah. And I probably opened more of the actual G.I. Joe team. I probably opened more figures of Snake Eyes than any other character on this channel. That makes sense, because he's the figure that they make the most of any other member of the G.I. Joe team. But this is the 90s version of Snake Eyes, so he's a little unusual. We'll talk a little bit about some of the differences that this figure has versus some of the more traditional iterations of Snake Eyes. But I do think this is a really cool figure, and I'm really looking forward to opening him up. So after that, we'll have Cobra Commander. So, another guy that like Hasbro loves to make figures of. And then we'll have some figures that are new to the Classified line. At least our two Joes are new. Wetsuit hasn't been made into a Classified figure yet. That's his first Classified figure. And Mainframe, and that'll probably be their only Classified figures. They might do Mission to Brazil variants at some point, but I can't see them doing like that'd be a good 2-pack to do the Mission to Brazil versions of Mainframe and Wetsuit, actually. But I can't see them like doing like a whole ton of figures of them like with Snake Eyes. And then the Grim Viper is kind of another version of the Range Viper, basically, but it's technically supposed to be a new character. Weekend Gamer says aligning those rockets in the backpack were not fun at all. Yeah, and I still feel like I don't have it in there quite all the way. Go on. So, but it feels like if I just kind of tap on it the wrong way, it's gonna fall out. So I'm gonna be really careful with that. So, but anyway, Major Bludd turned out really cool, and we got more GI Joe to come. So not only the figures that I just talked about, but I've got the Sergeant Slaughter Mercer 2-pack, and I've got Law and Order, got them to open up, and we've got the Desert Scorpion with his scorpion. So yeah, we've got those on the way. Oh, and my Christmas figure that I'll be opening up a little closer to Christmas time. So that's it for Major Bludd. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. And let me know what you think about Major Bludd, both the figure and the character. And if you think they did this guy justice in the classified wave, or if there's things you would have liked to have seen done differently to him. Maybe you prefer the Cobra Island version. Maybe you were lucky enough to be able to pick him up at Target. But maybe like the Weekend Gamer, you prefer this version over the Cobra Island version. So let me know that in the comments. I'll be interested to hear your opinion. But that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye.